morning, everyone. How are you? I'm State Senator Cristina Castro. I represent Illinois' 22nd District, which covers the great cities of Elgin, Carpentersville, Hoffman Estates, Hanover Park, Streamwood, and a portion of Schaumburg, where, housing is a very important topic. It's been a very important topic for the state and many of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle. I think one of the things when you talk about housing, making sure housing is affordable, and also when you're talking about housing, more importantly, people being able to move into and purchasing their first homes. Many of you may not know, I served on the Illinois Housing Development Authority prior from 2013 till 2017 when I got sworn into the General Assembly. And we worked very tirelessly on dealing with the housing crisis, but also worked tirelessly on topics to help people not only save their homes, but also put down their first down payment toward a home. We had a numerous amount of products. And so I'm very happy to be sponsoring Senate Bill 148, which was brought to us by the Illinois Realtors as they remember those types of products. And one of the things that I would say is, like, when you look at the median sales price of a home in Illinois in 2024, it was almost $300,000. That's 8% higher than in 2023, and almost 40% higher than in 2019. So you see the rapid costs of homes, and when you're trying to put down your first down payment, right? Your traditional, I always remembered your traditionals. You try to do 30%, right? And when you look at 300,000, that's a lot. And so I think when you look at Senate Bill 148, it would create savings accounts for first-time home buyers at banks and credit unions. People get a tax deduction for funds set aside in these accounts and put forth toward their first home. Illinois used to have a program like this, as I mentioned, but it was eliminated. My bill focuses is to create an easy-to-understand process that people can actually access and banks and the state can administer. By providing tax savings for new home buyers, we can give working class people who are budgeting and saving for their first home a leg up in the process and create a pathway for them. So I think that's one of the things that I would talk about. The account is eligible first time and second chance home buyers would be able to open a designated savings account and receive a tax deduction for contributions to the account up to $5,000 annually for single filers, $10,000 annually for married joint filers. The tax deductions would be capped over the lifetime of the account. $25,000 for single filers and $50,000 for joint filers. I think one of the things is, how do we help folks get into their first home and still feel that it's attainable? I keep hearing younger, I wouldn't say younger generation but folks who are trying to start after they're finishing college and they're starting professional careers, a lot of them don't feel like home ownership is attainable. This bill will help them prepare for that, and it will help make owning their first home or owning a home attainable. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the Senior Director of Government Affairs for the Illinois Realtors, Jim Clayton.
Thank you, Senator. As you all know, the Illinois Realtors are the leading and largest advocate for home ownership and housing stability in the state. Unfortunately, as we all know, the housing inventory crisis in Illinois has put housing attainability and affordability more and more out of reach. In fact, home prices in parts of the states have increased nearly upwards to 40% in just the last 5 years. That's why we turn to ideas like helping people save for a home into action and legislative action, and partnering with Senator Castro last year to get the conversation started on this particular initiative. And now, once again, bringing it back this year. Senate Bill 148 is a small step for the state, but a big helping hand for future home buyers. Given the higher cost of almost everything right now, saving for a home has become more difficult than it already was. Senate Bill 148 creates an incentive for future home buyers to put more away that they can use on down payments and closing costs. The tax deduction in this bill is purposely designed to be meaningful but not limitless, setting boundaries on both the total amount that you can put towards that deduction and the total number of years that deduction can be claimed. This bill was also designed to create as little as an administrative burden on the state as possible. And Senate Bill 148 is one of 5 bills the Illinois Realtors are working on this spring with elected officials such as Senator Castro to help make housing more affordable and stable in Illinois. And we want to just take the time personally to thank Senator Castro, not only in her partnership and dedication, but most importantly, her leadership on this most important issue facing our state. Thank you guys, and thank you for your time. And I will turn it over now to Mike Oldenettel, a Realtor member of ours.
Thank you, Jimmy. I'm Mike Oldenettel. I'm a designated managing broker for the real estate group here in Springfield. I'm a local realtor for the last 36 years, and I'm a past president of the Illinois REALTORS. And as Senator Castro mentioned, today, homeownership is a challenge. It's a complicated challenge. And complicated challenges do not have one answer. They do not have a simple solution. These type of scenarios, these challenges, need multiple components. And Senate Bill 148 can be the catalyst to help with the crisis that we have here in Illinois. The impact of this bill will resonate statewide. Saving for a down payment is one of the most significant financial challenges that buyers face. This will help because it's essential. 2 years ago, first-time buyers made up 32% of all home buyers. In 2024, that number dropped to 24%. Creating tax incentive opportunities for first and second-time home buyers will make homeownership more attainable. And it's not just the impact of the sale of the home on the economy, on our community, and on our schools, but also buying your first home can be an incredibly emotional experience. It's a milestone. It's relief. It's pride. It's comfort. It's gratitude. It's a sense of belonging. What Senate Bill 148 can effectively do is be a stimulus by providing an avenue to help achieve the dream of homeownership. A first home, or any home, can represent more than just a structure. It can be a foundation for your life. And so we thank you, Senator Castro, and turn it over for any questions.
You mentioned that this was already a bill in Illinois. Can you kind of explain why it was eliminated, why bring it back now?
As far as why it was eliminated, I'm not 100% certain on that, but it was an old program to the state treasurer. That was a first-time home buyers assistance program that you got, I believe, $2,500 for first-time home buyers and maybe up to $5,000. And I believe it was eliminated in 2019.
You can check my math here. Median sale price is around $300,000. A down payment then would be somewhere between $60,000 and $90,000. The savings program gives you a tax deductibility of like $5,000 per year for a single. It would take a single person 15 to 20 years.
It's
a program to save up.
It's capped at 25,000.
25 for single filers and 50 for joint filers, and this is designed to be part of that assistance for the down payment.
25 per year?
25 total in the program.
So it's 5 years. Think about 5,000. You put 5,000 every year, that's 25,000. So it's 5 years.
So how much of an incentive is that tax deductibility?
I mean,
How much
I
are you
would
able
say,
to
like,
save?
one of the things I would say is it's an incentive because people will put away for it and get a tax credit for it, right? It's also, that is the incentive. And I think one of the things, like, look, the ideal is 30%. More and likely, are you going to put 30% down? No. It's usually a combination of things. I know when I bought my first home, ideally we want to do 30%, but it was a combination of we had some money saved and then kind of worked with the bank to figure out the rest of it. So ideally, you want to put 30% down so that way you're not dealing with escrow and all these other things that you want, the insurance that comes with it. But doesn't necessarily mean you have to put 30% down. I think one of the things is, like, when you're a joint filer or a single filer, it is start thinking ahead, right, and putting that money away so that way you can buy that first home. And then you get a little tax credit for doing so. So that's the incentive for folks to put it into the savings accounts because they get the tax credit for it.
Jim, you mentioned there's an inventory crisis. We just don't have enough housing to go
Correct.
around. There's not a lot of new construction happening.
Correct.
How do we address the inventory crisis?
Right.
get more housing out there. If the supply goes up, then the prices.
Bottom line, first way to address it is you need more homes, you need more building, you need more development. We, as I mentioned earlier, we have 5 bills that we are supporting this year and hoping to go through the process with that. We believe that we know that there's not a simple fix and there's not a fix-all or a one-stop, but we can chip away at some of the barriers that maybe impede development or chip away at some of the barriers that impede people from having that financial assistance for a down payment. We're going to start there and try to build momentum and, like I said, chip away at a big problem and hopefully tackle some of this inventory crisis.
This question's for the realtors and the senator. Just curious, as a person who wasn't able to get a home and had to go the condo route 3 years ago, do you think this will help folks that really struggled to get that first house and had to turn to a condo because that was the only opportunity?
Absolutely. And if you don't mind, I'm going to turn over to the expert in this field right now. That's our realtor member, Mike. I believe he'd be able to answer that a little bit better than me.
So to answer that question, very simply, yes, because the incentive is absolutely necessary. And to go along with the question this gentleman just asked, as far as lending is concerned, first-time buyers can get loans with as little as 5% down. Actually, with FHA and VA loans, 3% down. So we don't have to wait that long in order to build up enough funds in order to get the home or condominium financed. So 5%, 10%. So this will help speed up the entire process of someone that's close to 3%. Now they can save up a little bit more money, get a tax credit, and then get into a first home. So for both scenarios, yes, this will help provide that incentive. And as Jimmy had mentioned, there's not just one answer to fix the inventory crisis that we have. And we do have an inventory crisis, not just in Illinois, but across the United States. Building has started again, so new construction is happening. And frankly, coming from the realtor perspective, one of the biggest issues we have are the current homeowners that have interest rates at 2%. Those folks are sitting and not wanting to sell because they're not very excited about buying a new home, either sizing down or sizing up, at 6.5%, which were the rates dropped to yesterday for a 30-year fixed rate loan. So it's another thought that we had even at Congress was we need to incentivize those that have a 2% mortgage for them to be willing to put their homes on the market, because that's the inventory that we're missing still. So everything depends on the economy, though, on cost of living, on jobs, on unemployment. So nationwide, we just kind of have to watch and see. All the metrics that we're looking at is indicating that 25 is going to be a growth year for inventory to get us back to where we were prior to the pandemic. And creating an incentive like this is certainly going to help the first-time buyers. As I mentioned, first-time buyers dropped last year. The number of them did. It's become more and more of a challenge for first-time buyers in competition for the limited inventory that we have. So creating this incentive will hopefully bring more of them to the interest, and as we get more inventory, more opportunities as well.
And I would just add, like, when I moved into we started in an apartment and saved up to move to our house. And that is the goal, right? That is always everyone's goal and dream, to start somewhere and then move to the next level. Same thing with a condo. My sister and brother-in-law lived in a condo for a long time, and then they bought their first home. That is the goal of the program, is to help give you a little bit of a leg up so you can start saving some money and start thinking like that. When you talk about home crisis, it is a crisis across the country. It's not unique to Illinois. A lot of my colleagues, I serve on many national boards, a lot of my colleagues are trying to think of, like, how do we improve housing? How do we improve capacity? How do we also help first-time homebuyers? So it runs the gamut from affordable housing, but also helping folks who want to move to that next step, which is a single-family home. So I think the realtors have a bunch of proposals. A lot of my colleagues do. So you will see I think we'll be seeing more conversations, not only among myself, but other members in the General Assembly who are going to talk about how do we start addressing this housing crisis and start helping people move into that next step and hopefully home ownership.
I saw Senator Chesney signed as a co-sponsor. With that Republican support, do you feel like with this bill will have a good chance for bipartisanship?
I think when you talk about affordability of housing, it should be a bipartisan issue. It's not a partisan issue because it impacts everybody, right? Doesn't matter whether it's in Chicago or rural Illinois. Everyone is looking to buy that first home. So, and this is a good step to help people, no matter where you're at on the spectrum, get into that first home. So yes, I think housing is a big, important thing that impacts both parties.